Welcome to the Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Andy.
And Andy, I just want to know, you're a funny guy. Have you ever considered doing stand up?
I think I would bomb so bad. It might be worth trying though, and have someone film it, just to like I could be one of those guys that becomes famous for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I don't think I would have any chance at doing stand up because hey, if I did 9 jokes in a row that were good and one joke that just got a bad reaction in silence, I'd fall apart under the one.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and I don't think I could do the 9 good ones in a row to be clear, but just I'm
sure, sure,
saying how
sure.
fragile my ego is. I think you gotta be
Yeah,
a lot tougher
you
to
got
be
to
a
have some
stand up comedian.
confidence. I feel like.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You either got to have confidence or you just got to be like totally over it and have nothing left,
like I got nothing to
to
lose.
lose. Yeah, to do it. Which leads right into the theme of our movie that we're talking about this week,
Yeah.
Andy. We're talking about the new film from Bradley Cooper, Is This Thing On?
Hmm.
And I don't know why I feel like I always gotta say the new film from Bradley Cooper because I don't know, there's certain like movies that just feel so uh influenced by who makes them,
Hmm.
or something about who makes
Absolutely.
them so important. Like when we get a new Scorsese, you're like the new Scorsese film or new Nolan
Yeah.
film.
Hmm.
Cooper has certainly not earned the right to be mentioned with directors like that, but there's something about Bradley Cooper as a just Hollywood personality that like the fact that he's making the film is like you kind of pay attention to it.
You do. I mean, there was definitely a moment of time there where he was maybe the top dog. Like he was voicing Rocket Raccoon. American Sniper made like so much money. It was the highest grossing movie of whatever year it came
Yeah.
out in.
The the
Limitless
the,
was a big hit. Like
the
The
Hangover made like
Hangover.
$1 billion, so
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely so it is important, for this guy that really is like this really handsome, like charming A-list guy, and then he's directing movies all of a sudden. So it's worth mentioning.
and I think the fact that his first 2 movies, whatever you think about him, and we'll talk about his record as a director later,
Mhm.
but for whatever you think about them, they've been critically acclaimed and kind of awards contenders. So,
Yes.
it's kind of like now when he has a movie coming out, you're like, oh, this might be another awards contender. So you kind of pay
Hmm.
attention for that reason.
Yeah.
But anyways, this movie, I'll give a brief summary, and then we'll jump into our thoughts on it.
Okay.
All right. So when Alex Novak and his wife Tess decide to separate, Alex ends up finding attempting stand-up comedy at open mics to be therapeutic. Eventually, this new hobby helps him gain some lost confidence and communication skills that lead to the possible mending of his and Tess's relationship.
Hmm.
Andy,
Yeah.
is this thing on good?
Uh, there are parts of this movie that are really good, I think. Just go ahead and say that. I'll just go ahead and say the obvious. Will Arnett is really good in this movie. I'm really happy for him. He does an amazing job. He's kind of known for these goofy. I don't know what he's known for. To me, he was always known for like these kind of goofy things, but you always could see that smart humor in there. Like in Arrested Development is probably the best example I can think of. But then he's also in like Blades of Glory, where he's just taking like the lowest hanging fruit and making that comedy. So I was really happy for him. Um, Man, it maybe this is unfair to say, but it really feels like Bradley Cooper is just dying to win the Best Director Oscar. And he's making and directing movies that feel like he's doing it for the sole purpose of winning the Best Director Oscar. So that was really annoying. So I don't know if I answered anything in all of my mumblings. There were parts of this movie I liked. There were parts of this movie that were really cringy because it was trying so hard to be prestige. That's my final answer.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, you kind of have to talk about that when you talk about the Bradley Cooper thing. It's the thing I sort of talked around when I said they get a lot of critical acclaim and Oscar consideration is that Bradley Cooper seems to really care about those things.
Hmm.
And and maybe it's not even fair to Bradley Cooper. Maybe it's just all of us kind of feeling like his movies have that feel of it.
Hmm.
And maybe he's not thinking about it at all, but it's like, dude, every time you put out something, it really feels like you want this, and it feels like you're trying to make the movie that the Academy likes, is what it feels
Yes,
like.
correct.
And so your choices all feel very like this is what an Oscar winner would do.
Hmm.
But This is also notably the first movie that Bradley Cooper's directed he hasn't also starred in. Of course, he
Hmm.
co-starred with Lady Gaga in A Star Is Born, and he was
Hmm.
the lead in Maestro, a movie that I despised. And
Your
you know,
beloved Maestro.
we could have discussions about whether he was good in any aspect in that movie, and
Yeah.
I just did not want to watch him on screen one more second as an actor in
No,
that movie.
I
But
agree.
um, in this one, he takes a very small supporting role and lets Will Arnett take the lead. I do laugh at like there was something about Will Arnett's look and demeanor in this one where I was like, Bradley Cooper cast Will Arnett and said, let's make him look very Bradley Cooper esque, and then
Absolutely.
I'll look different as actual Bradley Cooper, and we'll make him more
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper. And so, uh,
Yeah. I mean, you have to ask the question, like, would this have just should Bradley Cooper just have been the star of this movie? I mean, I
yeah,
don't know. I mean, I hate to even bring that question up because I do think Will Arnett is really, really good in this movie.
yeah. I think I think two things can be simultaneously true. I think that it's entirely possible that Bradley Cooper could have done the part just as well, maybe even better than Bradley Cooper. And I think it served the movie better that it was Will Arnett.
Hmm.
And I know that sounds like two
No, I
different
think that's
things, but
really well said.
I think it's true. I'm like you. I mostly know Will Arnett for Arrested Development. I love him in that show as
Yeah,
Joe
he's great.
Bluth. He's so funny.
He
Um,
is.
the thing I remember hearing on like a behind the scenes thing for that show is they talked about him like, reading that Job's supposed to be kind of like a little charming in the way that he talks, and so Will Arnett was like trying to do that, and they had to tell him like, no, Will, like if you just sort of talk normal,
Hmm.
that already happens.
Yeah.
It sounds like too much when you try to add it. And so
Hmm.
he would feel like, oh, I'm not doing very much, but they were like, no, perfect, you're nailing it.
Yeah.
And that's something I feel like I see throughout Will Arnett's career, and something you talk about like Blades of Glory, where you're like he's doing so much. I'm like that's Will Arnett trying to do things and not
Yeah.
just being naturally charming.
Hmm.
And this movie is a movie about a guy who's like very within himself,
Yeah.
reserved, and it plays to his like, hey Will, when you don't try to do too much, there's a natural charm that just sort of seeps out.
Yeah. He kind of just has this mysterious kind of X factor where you're like, he's not like some, well, like what a handsome guy he is up on screen, but it's like you kind of just can't take your eyes off of him up on the screen, and he does a good job, I think, because I do think it's really hard to. It's like, hey, you need to really be like you said, like in yourself and in your feel. So the temptation is always just to do like like do that kind of stuff and just be kind of big, small at the same time. And Arnett just has this thing where he can just kind of be like he's driving back into town to do his show. And I don't know, he can convey a lot with doing a little. And I think that's really impressive.
It is, especially when you think about the directing style that Cooper chose. I don't know. He has to work with his cinematographer and all that, and maybe they come up with these things. But there is a lot of long. They love to get the camera right up in people's faces,
They do.
like for the whole scene. Like we're gonna be like uncomfortably close
Hmm.
on your face, and so even like his whole first stand-up routine, which is pretty much all in the preview, like it just sort of lingers really close on his face.
It
As he's
does.
sitting there, kind of like, let me think. What am I gonna share? What do I say next? I guess I should try to make this a little funny. Like all those things you're right. He's doing it just little bits of his face here, and
Uh-huh.
he's conveying everything that the character's thinking and saying, and it's a great bit of acting. And I'm just thinking, like, man, it's also just bold of actors. I would just sit there and think, like, I hate seeing my face on this podcast. How much would I hate being in a
Right.
movie theater and like, hey, this scene's just gonna be right up on your face for
Yeah,
like 2 straight minutes while you do
for
this whole
sure.
routine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Will Arnett is absolutely not the problem with this movie. He's great.
no, he's not. Let's talk a little bit about what some of the problems are with this movie, Andy.
Okay.
So I just want to start here. This is not like specific to what the problem is, but this movie starts off really slow.
Hmm.
I mean, the first act is sort of just a slow burn, and it's one of those movies that I wonder like if it almost isn't designed to trick you, because like after about the first act of things being really slow, when things start happening and they're kind of good or a little funny, they have a little more pop, and you're like, hey, that was
Hmm.
kind of nice, or hey, that was funny, and then
Yeah.
you're kind of deceived into thinking the rest of the movie is better. You're like, oh, that got pretty funny, or that got pretty good, and I'm like, or did they just sort of lull me to sleep and then lower the bar for themselves really, really low so that then they could clear it pretty easily. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you feel that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean that's my biggest note is that this movie's just way too long. This is what like 2 hours and 5 minutes. This could have,
Mm.
I, they could have cut down. I think the biggest problem with this movie is we spend way too much time with this friend group: Will Arnett, Laura Dern,
Mm.
Bradley
Yeah,
Cooper, his
yeah,
wife, and then Sean Hayes and another actor. This is maybe the least interesting friend group in movie history. I would have cut everything from that out. I think this is a much better movie without any of that stuff, and just I wanted to be with Will Arnett in the comedy clubs.
yes. That was my big line for like if I was giving notes on this movie, or maybe I don't know if you could tell this stuff from the screenplay, but definitely once you're seeing the footage, I just want to spend more time with the other comedians. When Will Arnett
Yeah,
was hanging out with other comedians, I was like, this is like the kind of group you don't normal people don't get to hang around. And
yeah.
you kind of want to be like, yeah, I want to see what it's like hanging around this crew of people, and that's where I had the
Hmm.
most fun. And then you're right. Then he goes back to his normal friends, and it's like, oh, this is supposed to be what normal people relationships are like. It's like, not really, and we
No.
already have those, so we're
Yep.
good.
All
I'm going to
that
see
stuff.
this other side.
Yeah, all that stuff just brought the movie to a complete screeching halt to me. Especially, there's a long stretch in the third act of this movie where they go on this, I guess, like it's supposed to be like a yearly type trip or something as this friends group with this friends group, and that was just brutal to me. That was so uninteresting. I didn't care about any of that for 1 second. I just that was just a really big, stain on this movie to me.
Yeah. I mean, the sad reality is this movie called is this thing on? Obviously referencing a mic. You know, somebody steps up to a mic. He's like, "Hey, is this thing on?" Uh, it's not a stand-up movie.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
wish it was.
yeah, it's a relationship movie with a little stand-up subplot.
Yeah.
And I wrote this, and I don't even know if this is fair because it's probably even giving it more credit than it deserves. But I said stand-up in this movie is like ping pong in Marty Supreme.
Hmm.
It's like it's present and it serves as a catalyst for a lot of the film's events, but
Yeah.
it's not really the thing. In Marty Supreme, it's about the chaos of this guy's life choices and all these crazy
Yeah.
things he goes through on the around the ping pong. In this movie, it's like, yeah, stand up sort of happening over here, but it's really about their relationship and how they grow apart and then they come back together and are they going to make it and are they not going to make it? It's a rom com, heavy on the rom.
Yeah. And just to be clear too, like I still think you can have the Laura Dern, Will Arnett stuff. You can still have the all the relationship stuff with the stand up. Just cut out this friend group. That's what I'm saying. And it's like I like the idea of like Will Arnett feels kind of like just lost and like you said, in his own feelings in this marriage. And then all of a sudden he finds this group, this community of stand-ups, and that helps him kind of get his spark back in life. I think there's a good movie right there. It's my biggest thing on this movie is just the friend group stuff.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Did you like Bradley Cooper's character?
I actually thought he was hilarious. Like he
Yeah.
and there is part of it that feels again going with Bradley Cooper like, man, I want to be so like prestige and like part of the prestige playbook is to like have this really off the wall character who and all that stuff. But I gotta say, I can't help but think it was funny.
Here's the thing about Bradley Cooper is Bradley Cooper started his career doing all comedies and being like really goofy stuff. I mean, he's in Wet Hot American Summer for crying out
Yeah,
loud.
yeah,
You know, you don't get more oddball comedy than that.
yeah,
And it was like then once he kind of blew up as a comedy star in The Hangover, he started. People were like, "Hey, he's actually pretty handsome and can be kind of in shape. Like he can maybe play more serious roles." And then he starts doing that. He's done a total pendulum swing getting to this like prestige stuff. But my point just being like, all that comedy stuff's still there. It's not like he
hmm.
forgot how to be funny
No,
or what
he's
is funny. And you're right. I thought his character was really funny at times. I just thought the same way, like about half. They could have about halved it.
hmm.
Like there was about half the scenes that were really funny, and then sometimes it was like, you're pushing this character a little too far. This character doesn't have enough going for him.
Yeah,
Um, and like when he's sometimes Hollywood, especially when they're making like Hollywood jokes, like people are like this, and he's playing the guy who's like so oblivious to the fact that he's not going to
clueless.
make
Yeah,
it. And like he was on a show and they killed his character off, and he's talking about how he's going to write the producers and have pitch this whole ghost storyline. You're like, you know, I shouldn't complain because the reality is they're in it. They probably actually experience that stuff,
Right.
which is why they think it's so funny. But for like the 99% of us who don't experience that stuff, we can't believe people are out there who are that dumb. So
Right.
it just
Yeah.
it doesn't ring true, even if it is.
Yeah.
Like they say, like the thing about fiction is it has to sound believable, unlike reality,
Yeah.
and that's one of those cases. But there was definitely moments like I can't even remember what they were talking about on a bench at like the birthday party.
That's what I was
And
gonna say. His
Bradley
best.
Cooper kind of like he asked a question, or one of them asked a question, and Bradley Cooper just gets confused and he can't remember if he's the one that asked it and he's supposed to be answering it, and he just the back and forth is really funny.
That's what I was exactly what I was gonna say. The best scene is when him and Will Arnett are just on that bench and their chemistry together. And yeah, like Will Arnett doesn't. Again, I'm praising Bradley Cooper, but Will Arnett does such a great job reacting to Bradley Cooper's stupidity. He doesn't scream and yell at him. He's just like he's got a patience with him, but he's also like, dude. And that's their best stuff.
He's just confused. He's like, "What? How are you
Like
not getting this?"
like it all starts like doesn't it start with Will Arnett asking Bradley Cooper like is Tess dating someone? Is she seeing someone? And Bradley
Yeah.
Cooper just cannot give him a yes or no, and he just keeps stumbling over
And he's
everything like that.
"Is she?" And he's like, "No, you brought it up." And he's
Yeah,
like,
like that stuff was really good, and I gotta say I did laugh. It was kind of a little bit of low hanging fruit, but I did love at the end. Towards the end of the movie, when Bradley Cooper has been on this show and he stole the hat that his character had, and like the other stuff was good. And you're right, like maybe you could even use a little less, but Cooper's just a strange guy in the sense of like he could just be taking these like, hey, you just got to be handsome and charming, but he seems to want to fight against that in a lot of ways, and like he's
yeah,
so unlikable and such a doofus in this movie. But I gotta say,
yeah,
it did work. Also, side note, his character's name in this movie is Balls, or is
of course.
the
Yeah,
nickname for his character, I guess. And it's like,
yeah. I mean,
all
like when
right.
you look on IMDb, it's Bradley Cooper as Balls. So
So it's like that's so stupid, but like here I am laughing about it because you kind of can't
yeah.
help but laugh at it.
Again, low hanging fruit. Like it's not it's so dumb. But I literally laughed out loud a little bit in the theater when he's looking at the picture behind him on the wall of Tess playing volleyball that Bradley Cooper put
He's
on
like, just turn it around.
He goes, I can't see her front. He's like, yeah, the picture's taken from behind. He goes, why don't you just turn it around? And Bona's like,
You,
doesn't
you,
work like that.
you
He
can't do
goes,
that. Yeah,
not yet, or something like that. It's
it's
just what?
it's got a very lovable charm to it.
Yeah,
It really
he's
does.
he's definitely like, yeah, he was like lovable, dumb, lost puppy dog. But
It really is. But like I said, not to be repetitive, what I really wanted the most, and I think you still could have had Laura Dern, Will Arnett stuff, because she's always great. Like I don't think she can
yeah,
give a bad performance. I think you could have had that, but still spent more time in the comedy clubs and like I said, like get rid of Bradley Cooper's wife. Sean Hayes is so useless in this movie. Like it's not his fault. He just has nothing to
I know. I
do.
was like, is he literally just here because
Like
uh,
is he buddies with Bradley Cooper or like
he's buddies with Will Arnett? He does the Smartless podcast with him
oh
and
okay.
Jason Bateman. I was like, I wonder if Will Arnett was like, hey, I'm doing this movie. We just need another guy.
Like
You want to
you
come
want to just
along?
kind of stand in the background.
Yeah.
So
You're not
yeah.
gonna. I know you're known to be funny. You're not gonna have any funny lines,
You don't
but
get to do anything funny in this movie. Yeah.
yeah. So here's sort of my big issue with the dramatic side of the movie, the relationship side of the movie, because there
Hmm.
was a lot of good scenes, and I'm all for. I mean, there's a lot of this movie that calls to mind like Marriage Story,
Hmm.
and I thought Marriage Story was great a few years
I
ago.
did
So
too.
I'm definitely on the side of like you can make a good relationship drama like that.
Hmm.
Not above that. The problem with this one is I did not think they developed the characters enough because they really didn't develop the characters at all.
Right.
Um,
You kind of just
and
the real. Go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say so. Some of it is like you could tell they were really hiding things for like the big reveals in the climactic sequence. So they really don't give you any indication of why they're even separated because they're so like affable about it. They get along so well about it, and they still care about you. And you're like, why are these people even breaking up? And they really save it for the eventually they're gonna have their big fight, and then they'll reveal what happened. But it's like, okay, that's fine. But because of that, you're like, wouldn't let me know anything about the characters.
Sure. That's
Yeah.
absolutely correct. The only thing I would push back on a little bit, not even to you, but I guess one thing I appreciate is like because Marriage Story did it so well and Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver did it so well, I was glad that this movie wasn't filled with long extended sequences of Will Arnett and Lauren Dern just screaming at each other and saying like the most like painful, hurtful things that they could say to each other. I did appreciate kind of coming at the other angle of like, look, we're not even going to yell because there's really hardly any yelling in this movie.
No.
So I do think had they done that, and Marriage Story is kind of fresh enough, even though it was like 5 or 6 years ago. I think it would have kind of drawn comparisons to like, Marriage Story kind of did this better. So like that was at least a new approach of like, you know what, we're almost kind of like so much checked out of this marriage, we're not even going to scream at each other. But also maybe sometimes to an extreme because like Laura Dern finds out that Will Arnett like slept with someone else and she kind of just has no reaction to it at all. So it's like that kind of stuff. You're like, I don't think that's how that would have
Yeah.
played out.
Yeah. And to be clear, what I was not advocating was definitely not like we need more scenes of them fighting
Right,
or
right,
yelling
right.
or anything like that. What I really just meant is like for a lot of the movie, first off, they just don't really tell you who Will Arnett are not. I keep saying, yeah, Will Arnett. I'm going to mix it up. Bradley Cooper and Will Arnett in my head so
Yeah,
many times. They don't really tell you who Will Arnett is as a person in this movie for a long time. It's sort of a
right.
slow revelation of who
Yeah.
he is. And I get how that works sometimes, but it's like they never show you what his job.
Nope.
They say he works in finance. I think like one time in the movie they reference that. He doesn't
Yep.
talk about his job
Nope.
or like what he does. Anything about his life before this, he kind of like he's around these friends. He tries stand up. He starts liking that. Even his stand up is mostly talking about the things that you've just seen
You
happen
already
in the
know.
movie.
Yep.
So it's like,
Yep.
give me more about this guy. And then eventually, like Bradley Cooper has the line of like, "Of course, man, you always used to be the funniest one in the group," and you're like, okay, you should have shown some of that, like how this guy's clever or witty before he does stand up. So why it work? I don't know, just anything to make me think
Yeah.
why this is going to work out. And it's just all that was such slow, like revelations of like, okay, so this is a guy who used to be more lively and funny in the group, and then like slowly like lost his good vibes, and now
Yeah.
it's coming back out as he put himself on stage and all that. But you
And,
just
and
don't know that.
you're exactly right. And I just don't think they lean into that enough. I think personally, what I would have liked to have seen is more of like the more he does stand up, the more he kind of comes back to life. But they really
Mhm.
don't even do that. I mean, like they kind of sort of do, but not really. And I think that
Yeah.
would have been good too. But so I guess a lot of it is just me not getting maybe the movie I would have wanted, which
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. There's definitely things in this movie that like early on kind of clued me into to the fact that this is not a movie about people that I'm going to relate to. And this sounds silly, but just to say like, so the first time they're hanging out with their friends and they're getting ready to leave, and clearly like things are weird as they're leaving. Bradley Cooper shows up, and I don't know if he's supposed to be like he's completely drunk or stoned or something, but he's dropping stuff and rambling all over the place and being
that
weird.
was weird.
Turns out it's just sort of his character, but yeah, it was a lot at first.
It was.
And then there's this whole like discussion with Laura Dern and her Fred character about the cookies that her friend's baking, and she's very like clearly indicating, hey, you're making like your special cookies. And then
Yeah.
Laura Dern steals one, so they're eating cookies to get high and talking about getting high, and I'm just like, I don't know, like adults who do edibles, I'm like, these
I
are
don't.
supposed to be very relatable people, and I'm already like, I'm not relating to adults who do edibles. Just
Absolutely.
yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Couldn't agree
Um,
more. Also, just the most, I just throwing this out, just the most random cameo, I guess you would almost call it by,
yes,
yeah,
by Peyton Manning.
that was really distracting because it took me like a minute or two to be like, is he playing Peyton Manning in this movie?
Yeah, and it's like he's not. He's playing somebody else, but
That was strange.
it was strange. And like he doesn't end up doing anything awkward in the movie. It really felt like
No.
they were building towards him doing something awkward because he's like at a dinner with Tess, the wife, and it's this awkward like, is it a date or not a date thing going
Yeah,
on?
that was weird.
And then it like and then he just disappears from the movie.
Yeah,
Like,
he's just gone
pretty
and never
quickly.
brought up again. That was just kind of really random.
Yeah. Um, so strangely, this movie had my least favorite scene and one of my favorite scenes back to back,
Okay, let's hear it.
and connected to each other. The least favorite scene. So the whole movie, I kept thinking, I know the way that this movie's going. There's gonna be the scene where he does the really bad stand up set,
Yeah.
and you just know it's that type of movie. Unfortunately, I don't think it was the movie where he had the really great stand up set. I thought he was kind
Yeah.
of funny, and some of them he was. We can talk about that if you want later. But so there's the scene where they fight And when things have been going well, they fight again. And then he gets up on stage and he just doesn't tell any jokes. He just rants about how relationships are terrible. And he's
They're
like
gonna
clearly like
kill you.
half crying. And he's like yelling at the audience. And you're like, this is so awkward.
Yeah.
And the audience is just silent while he's just ranting. And I'm like, there it is. Like, and I was afraid there's gonna be the pushback at the lady who owns the place being like, what the heck was that? Like I can't have
Yeah.
you doing stand up here anymore. You're, you know, but he goes outside and we see his dad walk outside and he's
Yeah.
sitting out there. He's like, Dad, what are you doing here? And he's like mortified. My dad came to the show and I know
And
I
I
just
bombed.
ranted like a lunatic. And his dad's like, hey, I had to come see what all the fuss is about. And he's like, I'm so sorry you heard that. And his dad is like really kind and comforting and like talks to him about it. And it was just sort of like a sweet scene.
Hmm.
And it ended really funny with the sweet scene where his dad goes, next time add some jokes.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was it. And Will Arnett just kind of funnily just smiles and goes, I'll add one joke.
Yeah. That stuff was really good.
And I was like, okay, like, so you did have this scene I was just dreading the whole movie I knew was coming and I hated, but you kind of redeemed it with this turnaround with the dad.
Yep. Yeah. No notes. You're exactly right.
Yeah. So I do want to circle back to this though. Was he a good stand-up comedian?
I guess it's just I guess this goes without saying. It's like this with anybody, but it's just how funny you think Will Arnett is. Because it's like, I don't know. To me, they did strike a good balance. Because it's like you can't have it. Like I would take you out of the movie. I think if he came out and just killed it, and he was just because like so this guy just mopes around his house all day, but then he can just kill it at stand up. I thought it was well done how he kind of like awkwardly backed into it just by telling about what his life was. So I
Yeah.
don't know that I buy that. Like I don't know that you're meant to think like, oh, this guy's really gonna make it in stand up. Like his
Right.
ceiling probably is just these small, like not comedy clubs. But like I, I thought it would have been hard to find the balance, and I did think they did a pretty decent job. And that's where I thought Arnett just shined. Of like, hey man, go up there, be funny, but not too funny. You can do this naturally. Will Arnett can do this. Your character Alex can't. So like that was a good balancing act, I thought. Like
Yeah.
they maybe could have had him land like one really funny joke, which they never really did, or like kind of
Yeah.
stumble into like a punch or like a catchphrase or something. He didn't do that because then at one point in the movie, I was like, how much can this guy just be like, man, my ex-wife? Like after a while, wouldn't people be like, dude, talk about something else?
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like you're right because he's not supposed to be like this star at stand up, but
Yeah,
it's like you almost kind of want that moment as an audience member. It's like watching all of 8 Mile, and at the end, somebody does a rap battle, and they're just okay,
yeah,
and you're like,
yeah, yeah,
okay, like you want the moment where like he strings together this verse of like really great rhymes, and
hmm
of course we're talking about 8 Mile, which he does in that movie. In this
yeah,
movie, it's like. Yeah, every once in a while he says something and you kind of laugh and go like, "Oh, thank goodness he's not totally bombing." And that's
yeah,
as an audience member, that's almost what you're rooting for. Is like, please just don't get up there and bomb, dude. Like, I'm just rooting for
yeah.
you to not embarrass yourself. And there's a couple sets because I don't know, probably shows what 5 or 6 sets that he does,
I would
or
say,
clips
yeah,
from sets. And I think the best one is the one where it shows like he's kind of finding his groove. It's the one where he ends up hooking up with the other girl at the end, but
yeah, yeah.
he
That
kind of
was the best
loses
one.
he loses his place, and I still don't know if it was supposed to be like planned that he lost his place because it plays so well, and he asks her
Yep,
like, "What's next, my notes?" and she yells out, "Small
yep,
penis," and he goes,
yep.
"That's
That was really funny.
that's not in my notes," and
Yep.
yeah, that's what
And
he's like. I
that's what
wouldn't make a note of that.
exactly, and that's where Arnett shines, and that's why I just want to spend more time in these comedy clubs and just see him like learn to interact with these people who he's never had anything in common with, and like there's one point in the movie where he's sitting at the table with like these two black stand-up comedians, and it's like they're obviously from two different worlds, but it's like you kind of start to get glimpses of him like bonding with them, and then they don't do anything with it, and it's like that's what I would have wanted to see. That's what I would have wanted to see.
Yeah, exactly. Because the coolest part about this movie is the way they all sort of take him in, even though
Yep.
like he's clearly like he's new and he's not any good. He has no idea what he's doing, and they're just
Yeah.
like, we'll kind of help you out, man. We'll show you the ropes."
And you do get just too small of glimpses of it because there's that great scene where that the lady's like, "Yeah, you're a terrible stand-up comedian, but like you're a cool guy." And they all just
Yeah.
kind of laugh, including Will Arnett. So it's never mean spirited. Like it really does feel like a community and stuff. And that was, to be what I've already said, but like that's the best part of this movie is that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really don't let you see a lot of the other comedians. Like, because the
No.
movie's so his point of view. Like, you
Yep.
see, like, the last lines they're delivering when he's walking
As
up,
he's coming
and
up
then,
or as
like,
he's
as he's
leaving, you hear
leaving,
him.
like, the first lines, and they hardly get off a whole joke in the
I know.
movie. So,
I know. Yep.
yeah, I don't know. So I just want to reference this movie because it made me think of this movie a lot. Just because the stand-up side of it is the movie Funny People, which
Yes.
does a similar thing, and it takes Seth Rogen in sort of the Will Arnett thing, where it's like a guy who's known for comedies but isn't necessarily a stand-up comedian, and he's gonna have to play a stand-up comedian in the movie, and they're gonna surround him with actual stand-up comedians, and they do
Right.
a lot more showing like the comedy bits in there, and I think that movie sells a little better. Like, yeah, these people are good at what they do, and here's a like,
Yeah.
actual funny routine and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Whereas this movie's it's a serious drama, so they're not really trying to show you like, hey, let me prove to you these people are good and funny, and show you a little bit of their comedy routine in here, because we're too busy. We got to get to the drama. So
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, you can't help but draw comparisons to Funny People, which honestly is kind of like this movie, just a somewhat enjoyable movie with a lot of flaws in it. Like Funny People's like 45 minutes too long and da 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 da.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
I wanted to land here because I said it at the beginning. Bradley Cooper's movies tend to get a lot of critical praise and Oscar consideration. Does this movie deserve Oscar consideration?
I don't think so. I think at that point you're making it too easy because if you got to include this movie, then you got to include every movie. I just think there's movies that deserve it that don't feel like they're trying as hard. Now, if you want to talk Arnett, that's fine. Will Arnett,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I think if you're doing it's if you're going to let this movie have Oscar consideration, then you got to let a lot of other movies have Oscar consideration, and I just don't think it's going to make a big enough impact.
Yeah. If I'm understanding correctly, though, this movie is another one that's considered a 2025 movie, even though
Yeah.
it basically just released in 2026 for most of us.
That's the way I understand it too.
And so, like, when we're talking about it getting Oscar consideration, it's getting any consideration it's getting is getting for competition against 2025 movies.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because, like, I think I'm just like you. I think Arnett is really good, and I would love to like give him some consideration. And then I think about how many other great performances in
No.
for lead actor there are, and I'm just like, I don't think. No, I'm sorry, but I don't think there's a chance.
I don't think so either. And Laura Dern is great, but she's kind of always great. And it's not an insult, but it's like this one just doesn't stand out enough, like to
Yeah.
yeah.
It's also weird that Laura Dern won an Oscar for supporting role in
For
Marriage
Marriage
Story,
Story.
and then is in this one in the lead role
I know.
of a basically very similar
Very similar
type
movie.
thing. Yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately, I just don't see it getting a lot of attention, and I don't think Cooper is gonna win his coveted Best Directing Oscar.
Yeah. I do have to just point out that they make a very big deal in this movie once they reveal it halfway through the movie that her whole identity was that she used to be this really good volleyball player and played for
Yeah.
the Olympics. Again, had to wait till halfway through the movie to reveal anything about her so that it could be a big reveal in the moment.
Yeah,
But in any case, it's always funny to see what they do with actors or actresses that are trying to play like really high level athletes and how they get around. Like, so they show like a total 10-second long clip of her at this volleyball scrimmage, and
Yeah.
it's cut so quickly you could barely see her move and anything. It's
Yeah.
like, and we're out, and it's like, yeah, that's as confident as they felt showing her do a volleyball thing because she's
Yeah,
an
we're not
actress
gonna
who probably has never played volleyball in her life.
correct. Yeah, we're not gonna shine the spotlight on Laura Dern's volleyball skills.
Yeah, so that just made me laugh.
That was funny.
You just pick up on those things like quick cuts. It's like if a guy's
cuts.
having to play guitar and you're like, we are literally never going to show his hands.
Nope, or just show him from behind so we can just put a wig on a guy who can actually play the guitar.
Exactly.
Yeah. And super quickly too, I will just say that it's not worth too much conversation, but like the two young actors who played their kids in this movie,
Yeah.
they did fine. Like they weren't given a ton to do, but it wasn't like, oh boy, they're trying to get these kids to act. Like I thought they did a perfectly fine job.
Yeah, and it was. I want to emphasize this. There were really sweet dynamics within all these like family relationships. So like I
Yeah.
liked him and his parents. I liked him and Tess and a lot of their Will Arnett and Tess. I'm
Hmm.
saying actor and character. I know I'm mixing things up. And then like as a father and with his sons, he had a lot of really great scenes and endearing scenes. You know,
Yep.
he's that type of dad where like I'm gonna tell it to him straight every time, but
Yeah.
like I also want to be very sensitive to their feelings. I'm not just gonna be like blunt and not care how they feel about this. So he's trying to be like very straight with them, but he's also very like caring about how they feel. And
Yeah.
it's yeah,
I
there's a lot of
I
good
did
scenes.
I do always appreciate when anyone in Hollywood, any writer, director, anybody does put enough thought into their movie to not it's so easy to just make the dad just the most clueless oaf on the planet. And like Will Arnett, like it doesn't go out of its way to say that he's like an amazing dad, but he is a competent, loving dad. Like he's not some just loser dad. Like that's been played out too, I feel like. So I did appreciate that.
Yeah. And again, as much as I hated the like slow build up to what was wrong in their relationship, I did find it very satisfying and well written when they finally have their sort of breakthrough moment where he shows up at her house. She's having that meeting to show her the picture of, hey, this is the picture I took of you when I got my van and you were you were definitely unhappy. He goes, it's my favorite thing and I want to be unhappy with you, which was him finally connecting the dots and realizing the thing she had said earlier is anybody can be happy together. It's being, able to be unhappy and be with somebody. He's like, I want to
Yeah,
be happy. I was like, that's really well done. It's a good phrase. It ties everything together. Like
it does.
they executed that well. So
They did, and we don't do the stereotypical like they run back into each other's arms. Like she smacks the side of her house, and she's like, "Ugh, okay, I'll think about it." Like
yeah,
that stuff was well done. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't want to sound like I thought this movie sucked because I didn't.
right. No, it's
It's
an
just it wasn't
enjoyable
as good as
movie.
Brad. Yeah, it wasn't as good as Bradley Cooper wants it to be, so that he can win his
Right.
Oscar.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing that I'm just thinking of is this is a good movie that I'll remember or a good movie that I won't. That's kind of the question that I'm wrestling with my brain.
You know what? In a funny way, it kind of reminded me of is the Smashing Machine, in the sense
Mm,
that like it's a somewhat forgettable movie with just a really really good performance, and that's how the
yeah,
Smashing Machine was with Dwayne Johnson.
yeah,
Yeah,
and like a lot of respectable things about the way the Smash Machine was made, and you could
yep,
compliment Benny Safdie, right? Yeah, Benny Safdie
yes,
on how
yes,
he directed it and made it, and the same thing you could compliment um,
Cooper.
the direction in this. You could compliment Bradley Cooper for how he made it, but just
Yep,
yeah, it's not gonna actually get where maybe he wanted to go
no,
with it.
and just one last shout out to Will Arnett too. He also co-wrote this movie with Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, it was those two writing it together, and then it's actually there was one other screenwriter, Mark Chappelle or Chappell, I'm not sure how you write
Yeah,
that, who
yeah.
is a more I think that's what he does regularly is write
Hmm.
screenplays, but and then it's based on a guy's life actually, so
Yes,
should
I
throw
like
that out
a
there.
British comedian maybe. I don't know anything
Yeah, I
about.
think
Yeah.
so. I think it is a guy from Britain.
Yeah, and like I think
Uh,
it's just as simple as like Will Arnett like met him and struck up a conversation with him, and like he kind of had an interesting story, and so then we get this movie. So
yeah, how
yeah,
about that?
kudos to Will Arnett. He was very involved in this movie. I mean, he's
Yeah, good
clearly
for
the
him.
big winner of this movie.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Well, Andy, we got to talk about two fun movies this week. That's pretty good for, I mean, it's not actually the first weekend in the year, but
yeah,
it feels like sort of the first actual 2026 weekend because you're kind of wrapping everything up in 2025 for the first week. So
absolutely. So we're off and running into 2026.
we are indeed. And I should know this. I should come more prepared and know what's even coming out next weekend. But I know it's a little bit slow getting
It is
going
slow.
early in.
Yeah, it's a little slow.
And so yeah, I don't know. We might have to do some. I mean, next weekend is 28 years later, The Bone Temple,
Is
which
that
is
next
not a movie
weekend?
that we're
Okay.
necessarily super excited about, but
Yeah,
we'll probably see and I'll be interested in at
yeah,
least. So
yeah. I probably need to check it out.
yeah, so yeah, we'll have things to talk about. Is all I'm getting at.
We will be here. We will be talking about movies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let us know if you saw if this thing is on. Is this thing? I can't even say words anymore. Andy, we've been potting for over an hour, and apparently
We have.
that's the limit where I can not make sense anymore. So
Fair enough. Well, at least we know now what your limit is.
Yes, I think my limit's actually much before. I think other people are like, I think you hit that limit a while ago,
Like your
Jamie.
limit, you guys' limit's 5 minutes.
Right. But you know what? I'm sorry. We're greedy. We're not ever going to be a 5-minute podcast. We're
No,
always
we
going to
just
be
we love to talk
30
movies.
to an hour to occasionally over an hour when we feel it
Yep.
deserves it.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. If you're still with us at this point, if you stomached us for the full 40 minutes that we just went, and then we will be back again next week.
See you next week.